Parliament House as they make their way into the chambers of Parliament to be part of this important constitutional assignment that we are embarking on today. President John Dramani Mahama will be addressing the House on the state of the nation for the fifth term or the fifth administration of the Fourth Republic before the sixth one takes over from January 7. And of course, it is also the last one for many MPs who decided not to participate in the just ended elections. Those MPs will be saying farewell to the House when the House is dissolved over the weekend, and those MPs definitely will not be returning, but it will be a new experience for those about 97 MPs who are new to the entire parliamentary process. They definitely, I'm sure, will be laying back and watching events unfold right here on the Joy News channel so that they can pick up pointers, so that once they are sworn into Parliament officially over the weekend, then they can also be able to contribute to the debate on the President's State of the Nation's address. And that's the Bamaya dance being done by the cultural troupe that has assembled in front of the forecourt. That's Niyama Shite, the former Greater Accra Regional Minister. He just went by in our shot entering the chambers of Parliament. And the Bamaya dance is actually an interesting dance. So let me just keep quiet and let you enjoy the dance for a while.
go back. So that nobody will.
Hi, how are you?
Even no one is blocking you, and you're still. What else you want us to do? Block you.
And you can't just be at the
Now you want me to move back. You're ordering me to move back. When I ask you to go back and you don't do it, you want me to move. If I move back, you also have to move back.
Babu, babu, babu. Babu. Honorable. Honorable.
State of the Nation address. A while ago, we've had some of the dignitaries and ministers passing through. We've had Kospio Gabra, he is a leading member of the NDC and a one-time flag bearer contender of the party. We've had Mahama Ayaraga, the Deputy Education Minister, pass through. Seth Tekwe, the Deputy Finance Minister, has also gone through. Alfred Woyome, Agbechi Woyome, has also entered the Chamber of Parliament, and so has Mr. Bafu Boni and MP for Adenta, the outgoing MP for Adenta, Mase Kojo Eduasare. And of course, the Babaya dance is ended now. I told you it was an infectious dance. It got some of the ushers even dancing. But now it's time for some Adowa dance, and so we'll be watching the Adowa for a while, but then we'll be crossing over also back again to Parliament, where we have a makeshift studio there. We'll be crossing over some point shortly for them to do some pre-discussion before the President begins his State of the Nation's address. But like I said, the former Greater Accra Regional Minister Nneɛma Ashite has already entered the chambers of Parliament. He went by not too long ago. So has Akol Gabra, a leading member of the NDC and the CEO of Action Chapel International. Deputy Education Minister Mahama has also made his way into the Chamber of Parliament. So has Deputy Finance Minister Seth Tekbe. Alfred Agbeshiwoyome has also entered the Chamber of Parliament. So has Mr. Bafu Boni, and then also the outgoing MP for Adenta Kojo, Edu Asare. All these people have already found their way into the Chamber of Parliament. And just quickly, former Information Minister John Akolo-Gotia hinted about the fact that he wants the President to talk about job creation. And one point from former President J.E.A. Mills's State of the Nation address in February. He said, I have assumed office at a time of heightened anxiety and insecurity in global economy. As I speak, the whole world has been gripped by a severe global economic downturn and associated recession. Millions of jobs have been lost in many countries. The financial meltdown has defied logic and economic rationality. As things fall apart, institutions of global economies and financial management are under enormous stress. Such as the gravity of the crisis that no nation can traverse these hard times alone, nor can we blame any single individual or government for causing this. The world needs a radical rethinking of the rules, institutions, and processes for global, social, and economic management. For the developing world, the initial impact has been volatility in commodity prices, reductions in foreign aid, and in remittance flows from citizens working abroad who have lost their jobs. There is imminent danger of substantial reduction in economic growth, while the exact impact of these changes on our economies are yet to be determined. It must be understood that the world as we know it has changed beyond recognition, and we should not and cannot bank on previous arrangements such as the generosity of donors for our national survival. And so it's a point that the former president wanted us to note about the fact that the global economic crisis is something that has affected not only the world, but Ghana is also feeling a pinch of it. And he thinks that there is the need for a global rethink of how to approach these issues. Let's see whether President John Dramani Mahama also has some new ideas on how to resolve this particular issue, at least in our part of the world. But of course, again, we have the Adowa dancers gracefully doing the Adowa at the forecourt of Parliament. So let's go back there and enjoy some of the Adowa tunes. Okay, welcome back to the studios, and of course, some more dignitaries are arriving, some more ministers and MPs are also arriving. Just not too long ago, we saw Dr. Richard Anani, the MP for Inshaiso, make his way past the forecourt into the House of Parliament. Deputy Finance Minister Fifi Kwete has also made his way past the forecourt into the House of Parliament, and so has Alhaji Mohammed Muntaka, MP for Asawasi. He arrived almost at the same time with Fifi Kwete. They have made their way into the Chamber of Parliament right now, and well, we're still looking back at some of the points from the late President, Professor John Evans Atta Mills's State of the Nation address. And there was also, he spoke about the private sector development, where he says, whilst we face these challenges, our resolve should be to ensure that we continue to drive economic growth to provide opportunities for the poor. A lot of this growth will be provided by the private sector. A vibrant, globally competitive private sector must play a key role in the economic transformation and social development of Ghana. My administration, therefore, sees the private sector as an active partner in our development. It is largely the private sector, formal and informal, indigenous and foreign, that will be central in creating jobs and increasing government revenue through taxation, which in turn will fund the social investments such as roads, schools and clinics that the NDC government is deeply committed to delivering. It is the men and women in the private sector that my administration intends to partner, develop and grow, not only for the near term, but in the longer term, to secure the well-being of our people. We want this partnership to be built on a shared responsibility where government provides the conditions necessary for private sector growth and where the private sector becomes a proactive partner in development, is socially responsible and innovative, so that together we generate growth and employment and provide incomes, especially for the poor. And these are words of the late President John Evans Atta Mills when he addressed the House on the State of the Nation in February of 2012. So that's it. But we'll be going back to the forecourt of Parliament, where we're still getting some more visuals from the floor. From the forecourt, beg your pardon, and that's Nin Notedua. He is the outgoing MP for Lejukuku. He is also making his way to the Chamber of Parliament. And as I indicated earlier, President John Dramani Mahama will be delivering the State of the Nation address. It is in accordance with Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution, and the address is going to be government's fifth to the House since it was inaugurated on January 7, 2009 for a 4-year term, which officially ends at midnight of January 6. The address, according to the spokesperson of the President, John Jinapo, will seek to give a true and accurate reflection of the actual state of the nation in terms of the economy, infrastructure, the health of the economy, and all those sectors that the President would want to touch on. And he further indicated that certainly the President will want to talk about the actual state of the economy, where we are now, and possibly where he might give indications of where he wants the nation to go to. The President is, however, likely to receive a mixed reaction from the parliamentarians when he appears before them. You know, that usually is characteristic of State of the Nation addresses. You get some boos, some jeers from mostly the opposition, and then of course you get some support from the majority or the party and government's members in Parliament. So really we'll get to experience all that today, I'm very sure. There in your shot is the Vice President, Bakwesi Mr. Arthur. He has just arrived at the Parliament House. He is going to make his way to the chamber of the House shortly, and he is indeed climbing the stairs going into the House. So he's been welcomed by Kate Addo of the Parliamentary Public Affairs Department, and he's been taken into the chambers of Parliament. And so possibly we should expect that the President would also be arriving shortly once the Vice President has just arrived, because often at state functions they arrive minutes apart from each other. So hopefully we can expect the President to arrive, and then parliamentary proceedings will begin, and then from there the President will deliver the State of the Nation address, which we are hoping, according to his spokesperson, will touch on the economy, the health of the economy. It will also touch on infrastructure. It will touch on the actual state of the economy, where we are now, and where the President hopes to take the nation moving forward as he starts his administration. He starts his first full term in office as President of Ghana on January 7, when he is inaugurated, and that will be at the Independence Square. And of course, trust us here on Joy News on Multi TV. We will bring you live coverage of that event as well, just as we are doing for the State of the Nation. But of course, the cultural troupe is still performing. They've done the Bamaya dance, which is from northern Ghana. Now they're doing the Adowa dance from the Ashanti region. Trust me, if we give them the whole day, they'll take us through the entire country. They'll give us dances from all the 10 regions of Ghana, and I know they will never be tired, because it's something they are used to doing and they enjoy doing it. So definitely we can expect that they'll continue drumming and dancing at the forecourt of the Parliament House. But when the President arrives, of course, we'll shift focus from them into the Chamber of Parliament, where the real action will be, where the President will be telling us about the state of the nation. And there in your shot is the police band, who are also treating those who are already seated in the Chamber of Parliament to some tunes. I guess we can listen into what they also have to serve the public who are awaiting the arrival of the President. Okay, so we are now in the Chamber of Parliament, and usually parliamentary proceedings begin at 10. So there in your shot, you just saw the Speaker of the House, Justice Joyce Bamfordado, arriving, and shortly proceedings of the House will begin. So once she sits and they say their prayers and they go through their orders and everything, parliamentary proceedings will begin. And when the President arrives, he will also then give his address. So now let's hand you over. We'll take you now over to the floor of Parliament and watch proceedings unfold.
Almighty God, we beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, and thy good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality, inspire and strengthen our people, that they might give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, correction of votes and proceedings of Thursday, the 3rd of January 2013. Page 1. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Honorable members, in the absence of any corrections, votes and proceedings of Thursday, the 3rd of January 2013 are adopted as the true record of proceedings. Honorable members, may I now invite the leaders of the House to accompany me to welcome the President to the House.
Okay, so this is still our extensive coverage of the State of the Nation's address to be delivered by President John Dramani Mahama. Right now, we've taken you back to the forecourt of the Parliament House, where President Mahama is expected to arrive shortly. I presume that is his, yes, that's his motorcade arriving, because the Navy contingents have already lined up waiting for his arrival. And pretty shortly he will join them over there. He will mount the guard of honor, after which he will take the national salute and then make his way into the chambers of parliament to give the State of the Nation's address. But well, earlier, as I indicated, the Speaker of Parliament, Justice Joyce Bamfordado, opened the proceedings of the House. They went through the prayers and then went through the agenda for the day. There were no corrections to be made to any of the issues they had on the order paper. So right now, everybody is awaiting the arrival of the president, which is now. And once he descends, we will get through with everything. But let me not do all the talking alone. Eric Curtis Howard joins me again. I believe he's still at the forecourt of Parliament House. Curtis? Hello, Curtis. Hello, Curtis.
Hello, Smart. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Are you still at the forecourt of Parliament?
Yes,
House?
we are the forecourt of Parliament.
Okay,
And
so we're seeing the mounted cavalry. I presume then that it's the president that is arriving.
yes, please. As you can see from the visuals I'm playing on the screen, the president, John Dramani Mahama, has arrived at Parliament House at the moment, and he'll be expecting a guard of honor, the guard of honor that has been mounted here by the Ghana Police, before going in to give the State of the Nation address. So at the moment, as you can see from the visuals, the cavalry is just moving around, and we're just waiting for the arrival of the president to come to play the guard of honor for the whole program to start in. So smart.
Okay, so he's actually going to take the national salute first, and then he inspects the guard of honor. And in due respect, so we will listen to the national salute, and we'll talk to you. So hold on for us.
Honor Commander, Liberal Lieutenant Lukaku has just invited His Excellency to inspect the guard. Guard, Honor Commander, Naval Lieutenant Mikasu, has just invited His Excellency to inspect the guard. The ceremonial return to His Excellency are the chief of the defense staff.
Yes. Hello? Hello? Yeah, but why is this kakawai?
President Mahama has arrived at the forecourt of the State House and is currently inspecting the Guard of Honor mounted by the Navy, and he's been joined by some of the security heads from the Navy, the Army, and the IGP is also with him as he inspects the Guard of Honor mounted in his honor. He has taken the national salute already, so after inspecting the Guard of Honor, he currently right now is in front of the color party. He's just taking a bow for the color party as he continues with his inspection of the Guard of Honor, after which we'll expect him to enter into the chambers of Parliament, where he will be addressing the nation on the state of the nation, which his spokesperson, John Jinapor, tells us that will seek to give a true and accurate reflection of the actual state of the nation in terms of the economy, infrastructure, the health of the economy, and all those sectors that the president would want to touch on. And he adds that certainly the president will want to talk about the actual state of the economy, where we are now, and possibly he might give indications of where he wants to take the nation. And that is, of course, one thing everybody is looking out for. I think they're expecting to know more about where he intends to take the nation as he is sworn in as president of the Republic of Ghana for his first full term on January 7, 2012, which is just Monday, which is just roughly 3 days away from today. But as we speak, the visuals are still rolling. The president is still inspecting the Guard of Honor. He's just finished with the first line. He's now inspecting the second line of the Navy Guard of Honor, which has been mounted in his honor right in front of this of the Parliament House. And shortly, once he's done with the inspection, we expect that he will go in. But already, the Vice President, Pakwesi Mr. Arthur, has arrived. He has made his way already into the House of Parliament. Speaker of the House, Justice Joyce Bamfadado, is already seated, as well as the Chief Justice, Georgina Theodora Wood. They are both seated in the Chamber of Parliament. Members of both sides of the House, the majority and minority, have also taken their seats. The public gallery is also filled already. The police band is in attendance. They are upstairs in the gallery, treating some members or those who are seated in the chamber to some patriotic songs and some religious tunes as well. All that whilst we await the president to finish his inspection of the Guard of Honor, which he has just completed. And so he's walking back to the days, I believe, where he will take the national salute again, and then he will enter the Chamber of Parliament. And then, of course, we'll expect that the proceedings for the day will begin. And yes, the president is back on the days to take the final national salute, after which he will proceed into the chambers of the House. So let's take over and let's go back to the forecourt for the handing over before he enters Parliament.
His Excellency will now retire to the central lobby of the Parliament House, where he will be received by the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, Justice Joyce Bamford Addo.
Okay, so the president has finished his inspection of the Guard of Honor mounted by the Navy contingent, and he's currently making his way up the stairs to the central lobby of Parliament before he proceeds into the chamber of the House. It's our live coverage of the State of the Nation's address here on Joy News on Multi TV, on Joy 99.7 FM, and the Speaker of the House, Justice Joyce Bamford Addo, has just met the President at the forecourt of the Parliament House, and he's exchanging pleasantries now with the leadership of the House, Cletus Avoka and Osaiche Mensah Bonsu. Vice President Kwesi Mensah is also there, and then there are some children dressed up nicely in some kente cloths, all awaiting the president. But you can send in your comments on your expectations of what the president will be saying to us. We find us on Facebook, facebook.com/joynews. Some of the comments have started coming in again. Fulera Gariba says he's looking splendid already. May Allah be his strength to give us more updates. Okay, so that is Fulera Gariba. Okay, and Royit Van Papabi, you want to know what the president will do about the power rationing. Okay, we are hoping that he will address that as well. Bonti Benjamin says he must assure the nation that he will abide by the law and accept any ruling from the Supreme Court if he believes in strengthening the institutions of our land. Okay, well, thank you very much. Those are some of your comments on Facebook, but you can still keep them coming. The president is gradually making his way into the Chamber of Parliament, where he will be addressing the nation on the state of the nation, the health of the economy, as we're told by John Jinapo. He will tell us about the health of the economy, where the nation is currently, and where we can expect that he will be taking the nation to once he is sworn in as president on the 7th of January 2013 at the Independence Square. And you can trust that we'll bring you that live coverage as well here on all our multimedia platforms. Okay, now the president is making his way into the chamber, so all the MPs are upstanding now. So for those of you who are listening to us on radio, you can hear the drum appellation going on there. It's because the president is just about to enter the Chamber of Parliament. Meanwhile, all the MPs are upstanding, awaiting for the president's entry, and that's why the drum population has gone so loud, and right there they come, the clerks, Parliament, the leadership of Parliament, the Speaker of Parliament, and they are all filing in now, followed by the Vice President, Pakusi Mr. Arthur, and then ultimately the President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, as they all make their way to the dais to occupy their positions. Meanwhile, the minority and majority leader have already taken position at their respective seats. And we are waiting the President to also take his position on the dais, which he has done now. So we're expecting events to unfold quite rapidly, because Parliament has already been called to order by the Speaker of the House, Justice Joyce Bamford Addo. Well, now they're taking the national salute once again in the Chamber of Parliament, where the President has already taken his position, as well as the Vice President and the Chief Justice, as well as the Speaker of Parliament. They have all taken their positions. Now the national salute is being played, after which we'll expect that events will unfold rapidly, leading to the President addressing the nation, telling us what the state of our nation is. And I'm sure particularly for most of you, you will be interested in knowing how the economy is faring, because already some of you have started telling us on Facebook that you're expecting him to also talk about the issue of the power rationing, or load management as it is called. And someone, Lloyd Kweku Dankwa, is also saying he will expect the President to tackle the issue of corruption. Of course, in a bit, we'll get to hear the President address the nation, and we'll get to see if he will tell us all that. But meanwhile, Parliament is in session now, or at least we believe that almost all the MPs are there now, because the place looks already packed, and the public gallery is also being filled. Former President Rawlings and his wife, Nana Kunedu Ajiman Rawlings, have also found their way already. They are seated in the public gallery of Parliament, and shortly we will be crossing back live into the Chamber of Parliament, where we're expecting events to unfold, where the President will be addressing us about the state of our nation, where he will be telling us hopefully where the country is now and where he intends to take us as he is finally sworn in as President on January 7, 2013. Meanwhile, the 5th session of Parliament, which is the one that which will be addressed shortly by President Mahama, will be dissolved over the weekend, and then the new one will be constituted on the 6th of January, and then of course they will also be sworn in, and then they can also start active sessions. Meanwhile, the President and his vice will also be sworn in. So now let's go back to the floor of Parliament, where the Speaker of Parliament, Justice Joyce Bamford Addo, is addressing the House.
Privilege and singular honor to welcome His Excellency the President of the Republic to this House. Honorable members, I have the greatest pleasure in inviting His Excellency the President to deliver his address. Mr. President.
Thank you. Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, His Excellency the Vice President, Her Ladyship the Chief Justice, His Excellency former President Rawlings, distinguished honorable members of our august Parliament, distinguished ladies and gentlemen here present. In accordance with Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, I appear before you to deliver a message on the state of our nation prior to the dissolution of the 5th Parliament of the 4th Republic. I undertake this task with mixed feelings. The 5th Parliament of the 4th Republic started with His Excellency Professor John Evans Atta Mills as President. Indeed, he took his oath of office before this very august body. On the 24th of July 2012, I had the most unpleasant duty of informing you about his untimely demise, which sad event occasioned my assumption of the presidency on the same day under the provisions of our 1992 Constitution. As a nation, we stood together through that difficult and painful moment. We managed the transition in a manner that made our nation stand tall among the Committee of Nations. What was by far the saddest moment in our lives proved also to be one of the most unifying moments in our history as a country. We showed that even in adversity, we can rise to the occasion as one people with a common destiny. Madam Speaker, I must congratulate you personally for the able manner you have conducted affairs as the first female speaker this country has ever had. You have distinguished yourself to the admiration of many. On behalf of the people of Ghana, I say, Ayiko. Working with you, honorable members of this House, particularly these last few months, has been a rewarding experience for me. I want to thank each and every one of you for playing a part in the realization of the Better Ghana agenda. Madam Speaker, I remain particularly thankful that this House showed foresight and a sense of common purpose in a number of critical circumstances. These instances have and will make significant impact on the fortunes of our dear country, Ghana. To my comrades and my very good friends, the Honorable Dua Jaho, Honorable Professor Aaron Michael Kwe, Honorable Cletus Apul Avoka, Honorable Oseche Bensabosu, Honorable Ambrose Derry, and of course, many of you that time will not permit me to name, your contributions to elevating the level of our constitutional democracy in this parliament will be remembered for a very long time to come. Madam Speaker, when the mandate of governance was bestowed on President John Evans Atta Mills, he pledged that his administration would work to build a better Ghana through the establishment of a strong economy, investment in the people of this country, expansion of our infrastructure, and the running of an open and accountable government. It is my wish that President Mills was here to report on the unprecedented achievements of this administration. Or you can replace that with Gargantuan. The unprecedented achievements of this administration, but the lot has fallen on me to give an account of the state of our nation. The purpose of this State of the Nation address at the end of a government's term in office, I believe, is to allow the President to place on historical record an account of his stewardship. I will, with your permission, Madam Speaker, present here a brief overview of the state of the nation, while a full and much more detailed compilation is presented to you, Madam Speaker, for consideration by this House. The NDC administration, as honorable members will recall, came into office at a time when the economy of this nation was in some significant distress. Through hard work and implementation of prudent fiscal and monetary policies, we were able over the last 4 years to stabilize the macroeconomic environment. This resulted in a remarkable acceleration of our growth rate. And today, Ghana's GDP growth rate continues to be among the highest in the world. With the record-breaking growth of 2011, occasioned partly by the commencement of oil production, this year again we expect an eventual positive outturn of growth between 8.5% and 9%. Madam Speaker, we have not only held down inflation and maintained macroeconomic stability, but we have also worked to ensure discipline in government's fiscal regime to avoid unbudgeted expenditures that could distort the economy's performance. Government also in our term of office put in place appropriate mechanisms and legislative framework for the judicious utilization of our oil and gas revenues and resources. This is in line with our commitment to transparency and accountability. Madam Speaker, upon assumption of office, the Atta Mills administration had to move swiftly to deal with major challenges confronting the education of our children. Such problems as the phenomenon of schools under trees, non-availability of teaching and learning materials, and low remuneration of teachers pose serious threats to the provision of quality education to our children. In line with our commitment to invest in people, measures were rolled out immediately to address these problems at all levels. Madam Speaker, I am happy to report to you that remarkable progress has been made since these efforts began. 4 years on, about 40% of the over 4,000 schools under trees have been replaced, thereby making it possible to move hundreds of thousands of Ghanaian school children into decent classroom accommodation. We intend to move quickly in the new mandate granted us by the favor of God and the people of Ghana to work hard towards the eradication of the remaining schools under trees. During the same period, millions of learning and teaching materials like exercise books, textbooks, school uniforms, and computers have been distributed across the country. Other pro-poor interventions like the capitation grant and the school feeding program have been expanded to cover many more children. Today, as I speak, more than 1 million children are being fed 1 meal a day at school. With the implementation of the single spine pay policy, teachers have seen an appreciable upward adjustment in their remuneration. Evidence of improvements in education standards have already begun to show in some modest improvements in performance of our children at both the first and second cycle levels of education. I am gratified that the investments we are making in our children are beginning to yield dividends, and we will continue to pursue investments that will go to improve the quality at all levels of our educational system. As I speak, similar efforts have yielded results in the expansion of access to tertiary education in the shape of 2 new public universities to augment the existing traditional universities and the expansion of infrastructure at the various public tertiary institutions. In the area of healthcare, Madam Speaker, the National Health Insurance Scheme, whose implementation we inherited after we had piloted it in the first NDC administration, has been strengthened. Madam Speaker, active membership of the scheme, utilization, claim payments, and other important indicators of public confidence have risen sharply over the last 4 years. Madam Speaker, from the early days of this administration, we have worked relentlessly to give individuals and families better access to more qualitative health care. Across the country, an unprecedented number of modern health care delivery facilities have been rolled out, including the upgrading of the Dramani Hospital into an ultra-modern teaching hospital. Madam Speaker, we have also established in the short space of 4 years 1,300 new CHIPS compounds across the country. We have built 19 health centers for population areas over 500. We have built 12 new district hospitals. We have built 15 new polyclinics. And we have provided 161 new ambulances. Madam Madam Speaker, 161 new ambulances for the National Ambulance Service. In the area of training, several nurses and midwifery training institutions have been established, as well as a university that is dedicated solely to the training of auxiliary healthcare professionals. Madam Speaker, over the last 4 years, our security agencies have seen the biggest retooling efforts in their entire existence. The Ghana Armed Forces, comprising the Army, Navy, and Air Force, have all benefited from the acquisition of new and modern equipment. This has enabled them to carry out even more effectively their mandate of ensuring our security by air, by land, or by sea. Madam Speaker, the Ghana Police Service has also taken delivery of new high-performance vehicles, communications gadgets, and other essential equipment. The service today can boast of an ultra-modern forensic laboratory, which has greatly improved their crime prevention and detection capabilities. Indeed, this capability was on full display before, during, and after the 2012 elections, which saw them effectively providing security for all of us. It is clear from the foregoing, Madam Speaker, that the NDC's government's efforts have not been in vain. Government has over the past 4 years made significant investments in the energy sector. This has culminated in an increase of 35% in our energy generation capacity since 2008. Access to electricity has also increased from 54% in 2008 to an average of 72% in 2011. Madam Speaker, about 1,700 communities have been connected to the national electricity grid since 2008, with a large proportion of this increase representing poor households. These, Madam Speaker, are the communities that would otherwise have been in darkness. Madam Speaker, agriculture has received a major boost under the Better Ghana agenda. Our objective for enhanced and sustained efforts at agricultural mechanization and modernization is to quicken the pace towards full domestic food security, to increase agricultural exports, improvement in farm incomes, and most of all, alleviation of poverty. Our domestic maize production output recorded surpluses in 2010 and 2011, despite the adverse weather conditions we experienced in 2011. Rice production has doubled from the 2008 level, reducing our rice imports by almost 50%. Cocoa production exceeded 1 million tons for the first time in the 2010-2011 production year, while cotton, which has seen a reduction in output to 5,000 tons in 2008, has seen an increase of about 1,000% in output in the 2011 crop year. Madam Speaker, I could go on and speak Madam Speaker, I could go on and speak about the gargantuan strides we have made in the area of agriculture, public sector reform, SADA, and many other bold policy initiatives that this government has undertaken. But I do not intend for this to be a lengthy speech, as next month or thereabouts, I'll be coming back to address this august body on the state of our nation. In that address, I will offer a more comprehensive review of the state of our nation. Suffice it to say, Madam Speaker, that we are making rapid progress as a nation. The democratic path we have chosen has created scope for good governance and sustainable economic development. Madam Speaker, the success story of our country over the last 4 years, Madam Speaker, the success story of our country over the last 4 years would not have been possible without the full support and cooperation of this august House. The many debates you have held, the close scrutiny and corrections to which government programs, policies, agreements, and proposals have been subjected to in this House have helped shape and forge the success that we enjoy today. I wish, therefore, on behalf of the Presidency and the Executive, to thank you, Madam Speaker, and all honorable members of this House for the cooperation we have enjoyed from you. What we have achieved together over the last 4 years should spur us on to work towards greater cooperation and collaboration, irrespective of our political differences. Madam Speaker, even as we pat ourselves on the back, let us not forget the hard work that lies ahead of us. Keeping the nation safe, anchoring our constitutional and democratic legacy on stronger moral and cultural values, growing stronger institutions, delivering on infrastructural development and social services, infrastructure and amenities to all parts of this nation, as well as affirming our status as a Pan-African giant, remain far from finished. And it is our shared responsibility to work together towards the achievement of these goals. Whatever our differences, whatever our politics, we must pull together and rise to meet these challenges. For the long-term survival of our nation, we must agree and commit to a multi-partisan process to secure the future of our country. There have been times when we have worked together. There have been times when we have shelved the politics and come together as one nation for the glory of Ghana. All of you know, and I also believe, that it was the right thing to do, and it felt good to do so. The people of this nation elected us all to work together, and we owe them that much. What they demand from us is partnership and not partisanship. They put us all right here in the same canoe. They gave us all paddles, and they told us to row this country gently onto the road to recovery, growth, and shared prosperity. And that is the direction I believe we should take this country. Madam Speaker, even with all our challenges, I believe a certain feeling of optimism is seeping into our Ghanaian consciousness. I believe that the days of division and discord are behind us, and that an era of unity and national renewal is before us. We have much to be thankful to the Almighty God for. With 4 years of growth, we have won back the basic strength of our economy. Fellow Ghanaians, despite the challenges we face, the state of our nation is strong. But now we must rise to the decisive moment to make this nation and our continent a better place than we have ever known it. I wish to thank you all for indulging me, and may God continue to bless our homeland, Ghana. Thank you very much.
Standing Order 58, I wish to convey to His Excellency the President the gratitude of the House. Mr. President, we thank you. Honorable members, I will invite the leadership, the two leaders, to accompany me to see the President of, and I suspend sitting for about 30 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, so that was a rather brief presentation on the state of the nation presented to us by President John Dramani Mahama. He's actually just done with the State of the Nation's address. He's exchanging pleasantries with some members of the Council of State and with some other MPs before he makes his way out of the Chamber of Parliament. So for those of you listening to us on radio, Joy 99.7 FM, those of you watching us on TV, it's the Joy News channel on Multi TV. The President is exchanging pleasantries with the MPs on the majority side of Parliament. That's E.T. Mensah and that's Alban Bagbing. The President just shook their hands and he's now exchanging pleasantries with Doa Jaho and Professor Mike Okwe, Professor Dominic Fobi, and quite a number of other MPs in the House. Before he exits the House, he's just exchanging pleasantries and sharing some jokes, I believe, with Seche Mensah, the minority leader, and then your short Hakman Owusu Ajiman, Papa Owusu Nkoma. They are all in the House exchanging pleasantries with the President. And then there's Professor George Jan Bafo as well. But let me quickly run by you a few of the pointers that the President raised in his rather short State of the Nation address. Well, he tells us that he will actually give an extensive version of this when he next addresses the House in February, when he by then will be in his first full term as President of the Republic of Ghana. Meanwhile, the justices of the Supreme Court who were also present are also filing out of the Chamber of Parliament. But well, he says that he's undertaken this constitutional duty with mixed feelings, and he remembers on July 24th, 2012, when he had to inform the House about the demise of the late President John Evans Atta Mills. And he said the Mills administration had promised to deal with problems facing the education sector, i.e. moving schools under trees, low remuneration for teachers, addressing that, and all those were in line with the NDC's agenda of investing in people, and they put in place measures to ensure that they address those. And according to him, 40% of the 4,000 plus schools under trees have been replaced. Learning materials such as exercise books and textbooks and computers have been distributed to schools across the country. The school feeding program is still ongoing, as well as the capitation grant, and both have been expanded to cover more children. And he says at least over 1 million children get one hot free meal in a day. He said the single spine, which was rolled out by the NDC administration, has also led to an appreciable increase in the salaries of teachers. And he also says that he is convinced that the investments that the NDC administration or the Mills administration started, and he has continued, that they are making in children is actually yielding dividends. And those were the pointers he had to make as on the education front. But meanwhile, still on the screens, you can see that the president is now within the corridors of Parliament. He has come out of the Chamber of Parliament, is now within the corridors. He's going to sign the visitors' book, which is in the corridor of Parliament. But whilst he does that, let me also run by you a few more issues he raised in the area of health. He says the NHIS has been strengthened and active membership of the scheme has risen sharply over the past 4 years. He says that 1,300 chip compounds have been built across the country. 19 health centers for areas with population over 500 have also been established. There have been 15 new polyclinics built across the country, and they've also provided 161 new ambulances for the Ghana Ambulance Services. He says the security agencies have also seen the biggest retooling in a while, saying that the Air Force and Navy have both received new equipment, and so has the police also, which has received high-performing vehicles, and also they have a newly furbished laboratory to help in their work. And he says the NDC's government efforts have not been in vain so far. In the area of energy, he says the 72% access to electricity has been expanded to 72% now. Prior to hitherto, it was 54% in 2008, but as of 2012, it has extended or expanded to 72%. In the area of agriculture, he says the industry or the sector has received a major boost. There on your screen an interesting development, and someone is posing with former First Lady Nana Akufo-Addo for a shot in the public gallery. Meanwhile, in the corridor, the president is also signing the visitors' book. I believe he's done. I think that now is the Vice President Pakwesi Mr. Arthur who is taking his turn to sign the visitors' book in the corridor of Parliament. We'll try to get you some reactions from Parliament about what the MPs and probably ordinary Ghanaians who made their way there make of the president's rather summarized version, if I can put it that way, of the State of the Nation address. But I was running you through some of the points he made. In agriculture, he says there's been an increase in agricultural export, and it's also leading gradually to the alleviation of poverty. He says rice production has doubled and thereby led to a reduction in the importation of rice by about 50%. Cocoa production, he says, has risen to hit the 1 million ton mark during the NDC administration, and cotton production has seen 1,000% in output in the 2011 crop year. But he says that they will continue to offer more comprehensive review of the agri sector in particular and all other sectors when he next meets the House. I believe that will be in February, to present his first State of the Nation address as President of the Republic of Ghana. That will be after he has been sworn in to office on January 7, 2013. And that swearing-in ceremony will be live here on Joy News on Multi TV. It will be on our on Joy 99.7 FM. It will be online. Indeed, it will be on all our multimedia platforms. So you would want to mark that date, January 7. Mark it on your calendar, mark it in your diaries, wherever you are. Make a date with us as we bring you that swearing-in of the president. But the president is also asking, he made a passionate appeal to the House that what the nation demands of them is partnership and not partisanship, because partnership is what they need to move the country in the right direction, and that is the main reason why they were voted into the House as MPs to represent the various people, the 25+ million people of Ghana. So they are supposed to work as partners in the House and not work on partisanship or party lines. And he's also asking them and saying that Ghana needs to reaffirm its position as a Pan-African giant on the continent. Of course, Ghana is credited with leading the struggle for liberation for most of Africa, because we were the first country south of the Sahara to receive our independence in 1957, which opened the floodgates for other African countries within the sub-region to push for their independence also. And so he says we need to reaffirm our position as a Pan-African giant. We don't need to lose that. He says that we also need to grow stronger institutions in the country so that we can continue our advancement towards democracy and also developing the country. And he also says that we also need to keep the nation safe, because for now he sees that a sense of optimism is seeping into the Ghanaian consciousness, and that is a good thing that he would want us to continue working at to ensure that the country develops. And he says, for him, in summary, the state of our nation is strong. That is what the president is saying, and he thinks that we have won back the basic strength of our economy. So essentially, that was what the president had to say when he addressed the House. But on the floor of Parliament, still now, we have the MPs talking essentially, I believe, about the president's State of the Nation address. Then you shot as Samuel Kuchitua Blakwa and Fifi Kwete, Deputy Information and Deputy Finance Ministers respectively, and both of them have just been they are both newly elected members of Parliament, and that is Dr. Hannah Bissio also over there. They are all exchanging pleasantries over there. So essentially, it's been a rather short presentation from the president. I can see Dr. J.S. Anand. He is the MP for KEEA, but he's not returning to Parliament. But let's listen. Gifty Ando is having an interview with Rashid Pelpo. Let's listen into what he has to say.
The president indicated that he has added 35% of our energy needs to our country. That is good. But there was a problem with our energy supply to our household, and that has been addressed. And so I am impressed with the fact that there's an additional raw energy coming into our lives, so that all these problems you have mentioned, problem about lights out and sleeping in darkness, will definitely be solved in this Better Ghana Agenda Chapter 2. And I'm happy that he has addressed it and has said that it will be one of his cardinal areas of emphasis. So I think that it is time for us to begin to forget about sleeping in darkness and experiencing lights out with the president.
Well, it means that we have to look forward to getting the energy back, although it's on the end. He didn't really give us specifics as to what he's going to do in this Better Ghana Chapter 2, what really he's going to do to make sure that this thing ends. I think he just mentioned the problem and then what he has added up to it.
Yeah, he's supposed to give the state of the nation, but he also forecasts, he told us about what he's going to do, the need for us to work together, the need for him to work with the rest of Africa and the sub-region for us to achieve our Better Ghana agenda. He said it at the tail end of his speech. But this presentation is to look at the state of the nation as it is. And he's been able to walk us through the thing and has come to a point where he said that we have achieved so much, and he thanked all the people the stakeholders who got involved in supporting his achievements. And so I think that what he said was what he was required to do.
Right. Honorable, before we let you go, he also mentioned, talked about the national health insurance, the one-time premium that your government promised Ghanaians. You were not able to deliver on that. And so but he still says that the state of the economy is strong. What do you say to that?
There's nothing, there's no relation between is strong. It is true that the state of the economy is better than we.
The state of the nation, actually, when he ended it all, that was what I mean.
Yes, we have a strong state of the nation, a very reliable state of the nation, one that is that is generating a lot of confidence in the international community. And we've got a state, an economy in that state, which is for the first time anchoring inflation at a certain percentage and not allowing it to run away. And we have also reduced deficit a lot. And he talked about the growth being very strong and had an unprecedented and historical growth in the last 1 year. So I think that what he has said is to give us confidence in the state. And as for the one-time payment, there's an experiment going on with it before it is launched. And what he has said, he said that we piloted it even before the previous government took it over. We piloted it, and unfortunately we lost the election. They pick it up, and then they experimented with it, and they worked with it. Today we are on it again, and we are going to add another milestone to it. So what he's saying is reflective of what we hope to do in the next few years.
Thank you very much, Honorable.
That was my colleague Gifty Andor Apia speaking there to the Deputy Majority Leader Rashid Pelpo, and Steve is also in the House of Parliament. So let's go back to Stephen NT. I believe he has some guests he's going to speak to.
With us pretty shortly.
Okay, so whilst Steve gets ready to start his discussion, let me just read a few of your
Good morning, sir, and thanks for your time with us. So, I mean, I thank you. The parliamentary ritual, I mean, it took place again. And I'm sure when we ask members of the MPP, they'll say different. And then when we ask members of the NDC, they'll also say different. But overall, your impressions this morning has been what?
Well, the first thing that I noticed when I got to Parliament, it had nothing to do before the president came. I noticed the high standard.
Why didn't you talk about nurses' salaries on the single spine? Selassie Opoku says, what is the revenue accruing from oil specifically going to be used for? And you think the president didn't address that? Gisenu Sroda Rex, well, he seems to have been blown away by the president. He says, in fact, this president be too much, not reading from any paper, okay? And Carlos Anku says, the president was clear and brief. Selassie Opoku again says, we need partnership, not partisanship, to move Ghana forward. And of course, that was one of the key points that the president made to the House of Parliament before he wrapped up his speech, that they should ensure that they work together as partners and not on political or party lines, so that we can move the nation forward. But Selassie Opoku again comes back to says that the president did not touch on about 90% of expectations. Well, he says that he will address in full the state of the nation when he comes back to the House. That will be next month, thereabout. So, well, of course, those are some of the messages that have come through to us on Facebook. Keep sending us your messages. We'll be reading them here on our special program. But, of course, let's go back to Parliament. And Stephen Enti is talking to Dr. Anthony Akotose.
There, we expect more meetings. But in the meantime, we have an issue that will be resolved in about a month. So, whilst we wait for that resolution, what is the best way forward? That's what we should think about.
So I need to find out from you. I mean, I know that the leadership of the House will change when the new Parliament takes. Yeah.
Nominated the National Council by our Constitution has nominated people. That's our Constitution.
Yeah.
Whether the NDC side will change, I don't know.
Yeah.
Midnight on the 6th, we'll begin to see what is going on.
Yeah, but what we're picking is that the majority has chosen who will become majority leader and then who will become deputy speaker. It doesn't look like the MPP has been considered at all in the speakership.
I'll be surprised because see, don't forget the first order of business when it comes is the election of the speaker. The speaker himself must be voted on by Parliament, both sides. We are not through with that yet. If I were a speaker, I wouldn't want to vote anyone just for once. But I think people are posturing. Let's wait till we come here on the 11 p.m. and after midnight, that's when you see what's going on.
So what are you expecting the new phase of Parliament to be, considering that there'll be new members coming in to make the number 275? Are you expecting anything different?
I don't know if newness per se is a requirement for dynamism. Let's see what happens. Parliamentary work is not something that you are born into. You have to learn quickly. So if they do learn quickly, it will help. But let's see what happens.
The other concern is also that now that Nana Akufo-Addo, Bawumia and Jacob Echeblanti are in court on behalf of the MPP, well, Parliament has to be sworn in anyway. So the new MPs, especially the MPs from the minority side, MPP, will be sworn in. A new Parliament will come into force. And yet the MPP is contesting the presidential results. So what happens?
Those are constitutional mandates. The Constitution requires that after resolution, new MPs will be sworn in. The same Constitution also allows you that if you want to contest the presidential election, you should do so free. So it's normal. Every act you are seeing is constitutional. So there's no problem.
So when the outcomes, if the outcomes of the Supreme Court decision does not favor the MPP, what will be the posturing of the minority in the House?
It's simple. You accept the decision of the Supreme Court and move on.
That's it. So whether it favors the MPP or not, the MPs from the minority side of the Supreme Court. Right. And would you say that the president's posturing has been unifying enough? There have been arguments that more than about 50% of the voter population didn't vote for him anyway, so his approach should be unifying. Do you see that in today's presentation? You have high expectations of this president. Seeing that his State of the Nation address was more like, finishing off the late President Mills's term and perhaps giving us a narrative of where the late president left off. Were you impressed?
If what I see in the papers is an indication of reconciliation, then he's on the wrong foot.
What do you see in the papers that you're pointing to?
NDC to choose deputy speaker. Now, if you're a leader of the party and this is where they're going, you should see that it is not reconciliation. It's confrontational. And you bear the consequences. So that side, that it is stuff coming out publicly, it's not a good sign. And my advice is that he needs to take notes.
And what is the minority doing? Are you making it easier for him to reconcile with you? Because reconciliation is both sides, really.
Our leaders we have chosen our parliamentary leaders.
You want him to stretch the olive branch. What about yourself? What posturing are you?
He is the president. And if the signal is that this party is going to go that direction, we await the outcome.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Antonio Okutose.
Okay, so that was Stephen Enti there speaking to Dr. Anthony Akutose. But interestingly and surprisingly enough, someone just commented on Facebook that we didn't see the usual heckling from either sides of the house. But let me go back to Facebook to read some of your comments. Hope Kobla Gadagui says, true and honest review of the state of the nation. This will set the pace of the hard work ahead. Okay. Mona M. Halil says, nothing, I already know I already know the state of the nation. So many disasters, more than 100% increase in utility bills, fake judgment debts at the expense of the poor, and just to mention a few. Okay, so you think you already know the state of the nation, so you really do need to know what President Mahama would say. Whilst there are some of you who are also still telling us your expectations. Carlos Amku says he expects the president to talk about graduate unemployment. Kusiman says he should talk about load shedding. Okay, well, he really didn't go into details of all these issues. He says that he will be delving deeper when he comes back in February to address the House. This one from Elena Wilson Brown says, I want him to enlighten us about how to improve the economy, education, and agriculture. Well, interestingly, Elena, he says he spoke about the achievements they've chalked, or the successes they've chalked in these three areas already, and particularly with agriculture. He thinks they've done quite a lot, and that they will be continuing to do more, but he will tell us more when he returns to the floor to address the nation again. Okay, so now let's move on. The last one from Abdullahi Muhammad Naporo. He says, that was my president. I'm so proud of JM. Okay, well, thank you so much for your comments. Keep them coming. Here, our address is facebook.com/joynews, and we'll get to read them right here as we continue with our coverage of the State of the Nation address. We're still trying to gauge more reactions from the floor and from around the Parliament area on the President's address that he just gave. Okay, some of you are still sending us messages on Facebook. Bismarck Kuma Fitz Genius says, JM, you know what you are saying. You are not reading any script for us. Bravo. Ghana really needs you. Okay. That's his point. Okay. I've read this one already. This one from Kamasa Sedem Richlove. He says the address was smart, and I believe this president will deliver. But if you're watching us on multi-TV, we still are showing you live pictures from the Chamber of Parliament. Let's listen to Dr. Abu Sakara, flag bearer of the CPP in the just ended presidential elections.
We are still a major net importer of rice, and therefore we would like to see greater progress and more substantive investment that will bring about a transformative change beyond the small incremental increases. We would have also liked to hear about a more stable agricultural productivity level by the mention of the increase in irrigable area, so that we are not subject to the vagaries of the weather, but have substantial lands that are brought under control with water, so that our production will be assured over a longer period of time, and there will be a wider variety of products that we could bring onto the market at critical periods. Furthermore, the increases in cocoa production, whilst appreciated, should not stop there. We would like a mention of the additional facilities and capacity for processing the cocoa for other types of finished products that would add value to the cocoa here, and that would create the jobs that we need. In other areas as well, we noted that, of course, the economy is now 8.5%, and as we indicated last year, the big jump to above 10%, 14% was due to the unexpected income from oil. And now we see it has gone back down to 8.5%, which is a respectable growth rate, but it has to be sustained. Not only must it be sustained, we must see the evolution in the economy itself. In other words, the economy must not just grow, it must evolve in a way that makes it more robust and more self-reliant. And these are the areas of critical investments in agriculture, infrastructure that are needed to ensure that it achieves that. So we look forward
Thank you very much, Dr. Abusakara. I also have with me Samuel Ofosuampofo. Sir, it's great to have you. Happy New Year is in order. So the ritual again, I mean, we every year now and then we hear presidents deliver State of the Nation's address. We've just spoken to the minority, the MPP side, who raised issue with the security presence, the presence of, well, security men in the House. What do you make of that?
Well, I think they must be excited, rather that the state is taking their security very seriously. This is the House of Parliament, and for that matter, Parliament deserves to be accorded the highest level of security, especially when the President is coming to address Parliament. And these are not ordinary times. These are times that we have just ended one mandate. We are in a transition, and between today and Monday, a new government is going to be inaugurated. And so the general security plan is not to look at this as an isolated event. As you know, from tomorrow or from Sunday going, visiting head of states are coming. This area is part of the general area for the inauguration. The President is going to be inaugurated just around the Independence Square here. Visiting heads of states will be coming and occupying the banquet hall of the State House and several other areas. So I'm not a security expert, but my general impression is that you don't wait until the D-Day before you deploy security into strategic areas. We know what happened in Nigeria recently during the swearing-in of the new president. The explosions, the attack, and the killing of people.
So you're suggesting the MPP is possibly blowing hot air over nothing?
I am not saying MPP. Well, I'm saying that we are in charge of national security, and we must also protect everybody, including the minority themselves. So they must be happy that security has been stepped up in the Parliament House here to ensure that nothing untoward happens between now and the inauguration day. And I think that they must commend government rather than we have provided adequate security. Security operations are not carried out one day. We are going to do a program of inauguration on Monday. Today is just 72 hours away from that time. Whatever security is to be rolled out is part of the national security strategy. And for that matter, I don't think they need to complain at all. If they had not been provided adequate security here and they had raised concerns, then one would have said that, look, they have every right to raise concern because their security is at stake. But when we are assuring them that your security is intact, nobody should be afraid to come to the Parliament House here, nobody should be afraid to go to the banquet hall, nobody should be afraid to go to Independence Hall, Independence Avenue for the swearing-in, because the national security apparatus has put in adequate security to protect every Ghanaian. Every Ghanaian is involved. When there was a bomb blast by Boko Haram in Nigeria, it did not affect only MPs and government officials. Ordinary people were affected and were killed. So we need to protect every Tom, Dick, and Harry. And that is why I want to commend the security agencies for stepping up security even before the D-Day, which is the inaugural day.
Would you say the President's presentation this morning was conciliatory enough?
Very, very, very conciliatory. You know, it takes some leadership with humility to even look into opponent face, mention specific names, and acknowledge their contribution. It doesn't always happen that the president enters into the house, looks into the face of the minority leader, mention his name, mention the second deputy speaker, mention the deputy minority leader, and say that these are fantastic people who have contributed enormously in the last 4 years.
But these are just protocols, really. Every president will acknowledge the presence of the other opposing side.
It's not protocol. There were general statements that president will come and make. But to go the extra mile of mentioning specific names and acknowledging contribution of people in the opposite, of the aisle, for me, it's reconciliatory enough. The president made a very profound statement. He indicated that this is a period for partnership and not partnership. He has been in this house before. We know the demeanor of the president. We know his contribution when he was a member of parliament. We know how approachable he was and crossing other side and bringing everybody on board. This is the same person who hasn't changed and has demonstrated that he is prepared to go even beyond the normal to bring other people on board to come and help. So his call for partnership is for me critical, that we must bury partisanship and look at Ghana as one enterprise. And all of us are in the house, outside the house. Ministers, whoever was looking for power because of the good of the Ghanaian. And for that matter, whether you have found yourself in power or in opposition, you have a certain contribution to make. You have some level of expertise to contribute towards national reconstruction and national development. And so I think that the president has been most reconciliatory, and we expect that the other side will grab this opportunity and change their mind, whatever their mind was about their participation in the inauguration, to come on board so that together Ghana will showcase that this is a model of democracy in Africa. And this is what we expect every Ghanaian to be proud of as a nation.
Thank you very much, Samuel Ofosampo. I also have with me the clerk of Parliament and principal assistant clerk. It's good to have you here, sir. So, I mean, this is something that you've done. First of all, let's get your introduction right.
Well, I'm a principal assistant clerk to Parliament. I'm the head of the table office and responsible for the chamber duties.
What's your name, sir?
Ebenezer Humajietro.
So I see that this is something you've done very often. I mean, every year you have to do this process again. So in terms of the actual parliamentary procedure, what goes into the readiness of Parliament for a State of the Nation's address?
Well, the State of the Nation address is provided for in Article 67 of the Constitution, that the President shall deliver to Parliament a message on the state of the nation at the beginning of each session and before the dissolution of Parliament. Parliament has 4 sessions. Session could be described or referred to in terms of 1 calendar year. And so there are 4 sessions, and therefore each session, at the beginning of each session, normally somewhere February, the President delivers to Parliament a message of the State of the Nation. And so far, this administration has done the delivery of all the 4 sessions. But you recall that Article 7 also requires that before the dissolution of Parliament, a message on the State of the Nation must be delivered. So this is more or less the 5th message being delivered, in accordance with Article 67, and this has to do with the dissolution of Parliament. In other words, the state of the nation at the time that Parliament is preparing to dissolve.
So what roles as clerks did you play in the success of the organization itself?
Well, clerks to Parliament, or assistant clerks for that matter, our role, basically within the parliamentary service, is to facilitate the sittings of the House. In other words, render support services to enable Parliament discharge on its constitutional mandate, one of which is receiving the message on the State of the Nation. It involves preparation, inviting all the stakeholders, writing letters to them, inviting them, organizing meetings, discussing the issues. First of all, we even have to get a date. You do decide on the date. The speakership, together with the leadership, decide on the date in consultation with the presidency, so that we get a convenient date that will suit the parliamentary calendar and also suit the calendar of the presidency. Having done that, we do all the nitty-gritties in terms of the preparation, arranging, making sure that the press have a place to operate, the program for the day, invitation cards, and all the other matters which go into organizing a successful session like this rest on the shoulders of the clerks to Parliament.
What about costume? What you wear, like what you're wearing, colorful and all? Are there specific insignia or emblems which must be worn, in order to make the occasion colorful? And why do we need those?
Well, Parliament is the representatives of the people. the House, as it were, must reflect the dignity of the nation. And when you talk of the dignity of the nation, you talk of, anything that will enhance the beauty of the process and help project the image of Parliament. And of course, dress code is one. You would see that this dress code that I'm wearing is, it is a formal occasion, and taking a cue from what obtains in other jurisdiction on all such formal occasions. For example, in the House of Commons, when the Queen is coming to address the House, the process is very colorful. You have all, the speakership and the clerkship, come out in a full regalia. We have the Adinkra symbols. Time may not permit for us to go into these symbols, but each of these speak, have meanings, and all of which is intended to project the image of Parliament, and for that matter, the image of the nation, enhance the dignity of the nation, as it were, because Parliament is the epitome, as it were, of the nation. And so anything good, anything pleasant, anything decent, anything that will enhance the dignity of the nation, if you come to Parliament on such an occasion, I believe it's not out of place.
So there's not exactly a strict requirement, or what? Is that what you mean? Must you be are you required by parliamentary procedure to dress that way?
Well, it's a convention that has been established. For now, I can say that for ceremonial occasions, we need to come out decently.
So, as parliamentary service workers, are you permitted by your ethics to tell me what you made of a presentation from a president at any particular time?
No, we are not permitted to do, because once you begin to invite my opinions, then we are moving into the realms of value judgments. We are public servants and are supposed to render support service. So everything we can do possible to make sure the fulfillment of the constitutional mandate imposed on the presidency and the legislature is discharged. We will do that. We are not in the position to express our views or make comments or evaluate what the president says. As individuals, as private citizens, we may have our views, but we work with the legislature. And the moment we begin to do that, then there's no difference between us and the politicians. And for that matter, even if we have our own perspectives, we keep that to ourselves. We don't make pronouncements of such opinions, perspectives within officialdom. We don't.
Thank you very much for the time. That is Assistant Clerk of Parliament, and my name is Stephen Anti, and we're still here in Parliament following the presentation of the State of the Nation's address. We're still talking to various dignitaries who are here. We'll bring you some more dignitaries as the occasion rolls out.
Okay, so many thanks to Steve for that interview from the floor of Parliament, from Parliament House, I must say. Welcome back to the studios. But your messages are coming in, and we still welcome more. Al Hassan Ibn Yakubu says, I already know what this man was coming to say. That, well, it's not too clear, but essentially you're saying that JM is too much. Okay. Closia Nabi Okpoti says 35% increase in power generation and still doomso. Okay, that's a question you're asking. Well, Eleanor Wilson Brown says JM well said, but packed. God see him through the next 4 years. Idebi Keke. Educhum Hastings William says the president should have touched on the flaws of his administration, not only the successes. Also, I expected to hear more on the future. All the same, he did well. Well, probably you might get to hear more about the future when he returns to give his State of the Nation's address, the first one for his first full term as president. Stephen Nana Opong Stevoflex says that was a nice speech from the president. We are also hoping to hear more about the issue of unemployment rates. Well, certainly this is an issue that most of you are interested in being addressed, and I'm sure definitely the President will address these issues and more when he returns, as he's promised, when he returns to give his State of the Nation's address sometime in February, we believe. So this is still Joy News here on the Joy News channel. It's our extended coverage of the State of the Nation's address, which was given by President John Dramani Mahama to Parliament earlier this morning. Parliament has taken a recess. They will be returning soon to continue with their business. But if you're just joining us, let me do a quick recap of some of the issues raised by President Mahama when he addressed the House. He told them that 40% of the 4,000 plus schools under trees have been replaced, and learning materials such as textbooks, exercise books, and computers have been distributed across the country to schools, and the school feeding program and capitation program have all been expanded. He said that single spine has led to an appreciable increase in salaries for teachers, and he wraps it up on the education sector by saying that the NDC's investment in children is actually yielding results. And on the health front, he says 1,300 chip compounds have been established across the country. 19 health centers have also been established in particularly areas with population of over 500. 15 new polyclinics have been built, and 161 new ambulances have also been made available to the ambulance service. And he says that the NHIS has been strengthened, and it has seen a rise in its active membership over the past 4 years. He says the security agencies have also been revamped, they've been retooled so that they can perform effectively and efficiently. He made mention of the Air Force and the Navy and the police, who have been provided with new equipment. And the police, for instance, he says, have received high-performing vehicles and a laboratory to help them do their forensic work. And the president thinks that essentially the government, or the NDC's government efforts, have not been in vain so far, and that they are on course with their Better Ghana agenda. And he says access to electricity in 2008 was at 54%, but by last year it has increased to 72%, which prompted a question from one of our viewers on Facebook that if it has increased, then how come we're still having load shedding problems? But that, of course, we're told is also because of the problem, the best on the West African gas pipeline, which provides us some gas we use to generate power as well. But he speaks about the agri sector, which is particularly excited about, and he says it has received a major boost under the Better Ghana Agenda initiative of the late President, Professor John Evans at the Mills. He says the sector has seen an increase in exports and thereby alleviating poverty. Rice production, he says, has also doubled, and thereby leading to a reduction in importation of rice to about 50%. Cocoa production, he says, has hit the 1 million ton, of course, already. Cotton production has also seen a 1,000% increase in output in the 2011 crop year. And, well, he says he's also asking parliamentarians to work in partnership, not on partisan lines, because he believes that they were elected into parliament to work as partners for the advancement and development of Ghana, and he's urging them that they have to work in partnership because that is the right direction for the country to grow. And he says that the country needs to reaffirm its position as a giant in Pan-Africanism because, of course, for our very first president, Kwame Nkrumah, set up a trail for independence for countries south of the Sahara, and he thinks that we need to reaffirm our position as a Pan-African giant. He also talks about the need to grow stronger institutions, and he says that he sees a sense of optimism in the country growing, and so we need to capitalize on that as well. It is an admonition that the president is making to all of us as Ghanaians, that we need to ensure that the country continues to grow. And then he also says that we need to strengthen our institutions. And for him, in a summary, he says that the nation or the state of the nation is indeed very strong. You're still here with us on Joy News on Multi TV. We are also live on Joy 99.7 FM and also online. Some of your Facebook comments, I'll go to them quickly right now. Pona Shanzi is asking if the president gave us a forecast of what he plans to do and a revised version of the same list of stuff they have been preaching around. I do not really get the state of my dear Ghana. Are we safe? Will the salaries come early after this? Anyway, he called for partnership, not partisanship, which is critical. Well, of course, he did call for partnership, not partisanship. But like I've been saying for some time now, he really didn't go into much details. But he says that is because he'll be coming back shortly, I think in February thereabout, to present to Parliament again the state of the nation. And with that, he's promising to give us a much more detailed account of the state of the nation. Ivan Mauli Chakasu is making a special appeal to President Mahama. He says, JM, please appoint Dr. Abu Sakara as Minister of Agriculture, and no doubt he will bring his experience to bear for more development in the agric sector and Mother Ghana as a whole. Okay, thank you very much for that suggestion. I believe the President probably heard you, and he will take your appeal and work on that. We are hoping that he will indeed do that. Rafael Tete says, very nice to see Dr. Abu Sakara coming to grace such an auspicious occasion. I pray he will be able to continue to play a constructive role towards the development of Ghana. It's time to put partisanship aside and focus on partnership, as His Excellency, the President of the Republic, poignantly pointed out in his address. Okay, Hassan Harris says, very brilliant President. Ghana has not regretted choosing you as President. What a fantastic delivery. Hoping to see you again in February. And definitely, whenever that State of the Nation address will be, you can trust that you see it here live on all multimedia platforms. Alfred Dongzagla says, long live Ghana, long live NDC, long live JM. May the Almighty God give JM more wisdom and vision to deepen democracy and peace in Ghana, as well as enhancing economic transformation. Vida Dixon just puts it aptly that JM is more than fluent. Okay, we welcome more of your comments. Send them to us here on the Joy News channel. Look for us on Facebook, Joy News, facebook.com/Joy News, and send us your comments, and we will be reading them here on the program. It's our extended coverage of the President's State of the Nation's address to Parliament. It was indeed a very brief State of the Nation address, because he says he'll be coming back to give a much fuller version of the state of the nation. But do stay with us here. We'll continue our coverage, and we'll be bringing you our midday brief also shortly. But let's pause. Let's take a quick commercial break. We will be right back. Stay with us here on Joy News and on radio and online.